Mr. Davidson sent me a notice saying, "We don't want perverts like you in this building," and told me I had to move out within 30 days. I had to leave the apartment I'd been living in for 2 years just because he saw me kissing my husband Ryan. But there was something Davidson didn't know. I was the real owner of this building. My name is Marco Rodriguez. I'm 34 years old and I'm the founder of a real estate investment company in Boston. I've been married to my husband Ryan Chen for 3 years, and we've been living in our luxury apartment on Commonwealth Avenue for the past 2 years. To start this story, I need to go back 5 years. At that time, I was just starting in the real estate business and was getting ready to make my first big investment. An old apartment building on Commonwealth Avenue was for sale. It was a 12-unit historical building, but in poor condition. When I bought the building, I hired Walter Davidson as property manager. He was recommended as an experienced 58-year-old. He seemed quite professional in the job interview. "Mr. Rodriguez, I have 20 years of experience managing these types of old buildings," Davidson had said. "Perfect, Mr. Davidson. I trust you." After hiring Davidson, I moved to New York to evaluate real estate opportunities there. I left the Boston building completely under Davidson's management. The first year, everything was going well. Davidson was sending regular reports, rent collections were being made on time. I had very little communication with him. In the second year, I met Ryan. Ryan was a talented software developer working at a tech company. We fell in love and got married a year later. After we got married, Ryan said, "Marco, why don't we live in your building in Boston? It's your property, and Boston is a beautiful city." He was right. Why not live in our own building? When we decided to return to Boston, I called Davidson. "Mr. Davidson, I'm returning to Boston. Do you have any vacant apartments in your building?" "Of course, Mr. Rodriguez. The apartment on the 3rd floor is vacant. I can prepare it right away." "Perfect. By the way, I'm coming with my spouse." "Of course, sir. No problem." When I told Davidson that my spouse's name was Ryan, I don't think he understood it was a male name. Most people might think Ryan is a female name. When we moved to Boston, Davidson met us. When he saw Ryan, his expression changed, but he didn't say anything at that moment. "This is Ryan, my husband," I introduced. Davidson's hand was trembling. "Hello, Ryan. Welcome." The first few weeks were quiet. Davidson would see us occasionally, but acted distant. I thought this was a normal adaptation process, but a month later, Davidson's true face emerged. One Saturday, Ryan and I were having coffee on our balcony. Ryan playfully kissed me on the cheek. At that moment, I noticed Davidson looking at us from downstairs. The next day, Davidson came to our door. His face was bright red. "Mr. Rodriguez, I need to talk to you." "Please, Mr. Davidson. This situation is unacceptable. This is a family building." "What do you mean?" "You and Ryan. These types of behaviors are not welcome here." I was shocked. "Mr. Davidson, we're a married couple." "Married? 2 men can't be married." "Mr. Davidson, same-sex marriage is legal in Massachusetts. Being legal doesn't mean it's right. Normal families live in this building." "We're also a normal family." Davidson shook his head angrily. "No, you're not. And this situation is bothering other tenants." This was a lie. We had no problems with other tenants. In fact, we had become friends with most of them. "Which tenants complained?" I asked. "That's not important. As building manager, it's my job to maintain peace in the building." "Mr. Davidson, you're forgetting that this is my building." "But there's something you're forgetting. I live in this building as a tenant, but this building belongs to me." Davidson looked surprised. "What do you mean?" "This building is my property. It was purchased by Rodriguez Real Estate." "Rodriguez Real Estate? But you're Marco Rodriguez?" "Yes, I'm Marco Rodriguez, owner of Rodriguez Real Estate." Davidson's face changed. Are you the owner of the company?" "Yes, Mr. Davidson, and you're my employee." "Mr. Davidson, you're forgetting that this is my building. But as a tenant, you also need to follow the rules." This was absurd. Even though Davidson knew I was the company owner, he still saw me as just an ordinary tenant. Davidson left and Ryan was worried. "Marco, this man could cause trouble." "Don't worry, Ryan. Davidson is just old-fashioned. He'll get used to it." But Davidson didn't get used to it. It got worse. In the following days, Davidson started constantly finding excuses to come to our apartment, to check the plumbing, to inspect the electrical system. Each time he was trying to see Ryan and me together, making disturbing comments. "Marco, maybe you should reconsider living together," he would say constantly. "Mr. Davidson, we won't discuss this topic. But the other tenants, we have no problems with other tenants." There really weren't any. Our neighbors, Mrs. O'Connor, young couple Jennifer and Mike, elderly Mr. Peterson. Ryan and I got along well with all of them, but Davidson didn't give up. One day when Ryan was going to work, Davidson ran into him on the street. "Ryan, I know. You're influencing Marco," Davidson had said. "But this situation can't last long. Sooner or later you'll have to leave." When Ryan came home, he told me, "Marco, this man is getting more aggressive. Maybe we should move somewhere else." "Ryan, this is our home. We won't move because of Davidson." But Davidson went even further. He stopped coming to our door during rent collection. When I asked, "Where's your rent?" he said, "If you leave politely, I won't take the last month's rent." "Mr. Davidson, I want to pay rent." "No need. Just leave." This was completely unprofessional behavior. I had hired Davidson when I bought this building, and now he was trying to kick me out of my home. Things got even worse. Davidson started talking to other tenants about us. Mrs. O'Connor told me, "Marco, Mr. Davidson is saying that you and Ryan are a danger to the building." Of course I don't believe him, but "Mrs. O'Connor, what else did Davidson tell you?" "He claims that your sexual orientation disturbs other tenants, and he says you're lowering the building's value." This had crossed the line. Davidson wasn't just trying to manipulate me, but also the other tenants in the building. That evening I talked to Ryan. "Ryan, I need to end this with Davidson." "What will you do?" "I'll tell him the truth." "What truth? Didn't you already tell him you were the company owner?" "I did, but Davidson isn't taking it seriously. He still sees me as just an ordinary tenant. I need to show him who I am at Rodriguez Real Estate's office." Ryan understood. "So you'll show him that you're the boss at work." "Exactly. Davidson sees me as tenant Marco at home, but he'll understand that I'm boss Marco at the office." The next day, I called Davidson. "Mr. Davidson, I want to meet at my office." "Which office?" "At Rodriguez Real Estate, at our downtown office." "Why are you calling Rodriguez Real Estate?" "Because we have topics to discuss." Davidson had remained silent. He didn't understand exactly what was happening, but seemed worried. The next day, Davidson came to our office. Receptionist Sarah met him. "Mr. Davidson, Mr. Rodriguez is waiting for you." I would have loved to see Davidson's expression of surprise. While he knew me as tenant Marco, he was now waiting at Rodriguez Real Estate's office. When he entered my office, he was completely shocked. "Marco, what are you doing here? Would you like to sit, Mr. Davidson?" He sat, but was still confused. "Mr. Davidson, I want to reintroduce myself. I'm Marco Rodriguez, founder and CEO of Rodriguez Real Estate." Davidson's mouth dropped open, "And I'm the person who signed an employment contract with you 5 years ago. This can't be possible. You're a tenant." "No, Mr. Davidson, I'm the person who bought the building. You're my employee." Davidson's face turned white. "The Commonwealth Avenue building is mine. You're my property manager, and your behavior in recent months has been completely unacceptable." I didn't know." "You didn't know because you failed to be professional. If you had known I was the owner of the apartment where I live with my husband, would you have behaved the same way?" Davidson couldn't answer. "Mr. Davidson, I'll speak clearly. To you. You tried to evict my husband and me. You spread lies about us to other tenants. You discriminated against us because of our sexual orientation. Mr. Rodriguez, I'm not finished yet. You refused to take rent, constantly harassed us, and on top of that said, 'Leave politely.'" Davidson was sweating. "Now I'm giving you a choice. Either resign immediately and leave the city, or I'll take you to court for discrimination." "Court?" "Yes. Discrimination based on sexual orientation is a federal crime in Massachusetts, both in the workplace and in housing." Davidson's hand was trembling. "Also, I've documented your inappropriate behavior over the past 6 months. I've taken witness statements from other tenants. This was a lie but necessary to scare Davidson. Mr. Rodriguez, please. I was just what, Mr. Davidson? Just homophobic? I'm old-fashioned. I don't understand these types of things. You don't need to understand. You just need to be professional. Davidson lowered his head. What do you want me to do? Write your resignation, vacate your building this week, and never approach Ryan or me again. What about my last salary? You'll receive your last salary. But in return, I won't take the discrimination issue to court. Davidson wrote and signed his resignation letter. Mr. Rodriguez, you won't tell anyone else about this conversation, will you? That depends on you, Mr. Davidson. If you show the same behavior elsewhere, then everyone will find out. Davidson paused as he was leaving. Mr. Rodriguez, I really, didn't know who you were. What if you had known Mr. Davidson? Would you have behaved differently then? Davidson remained silent. That's the answer to this question shows your character. Davidson left, and we never saw him again. The next day, our new property manager, Jennifer Walsh, started work. Jennifer was experienced, professional, and had an inclusive approach. Mr. Rodriguez, I can see what a beautiful community this is, Jennifer said on her first day. Thank you, Jennifer. This is truly a special place. Jennifer got along great with other tenants too. And of course, she had no problems with Ryan and me being married. Mrs. O'Connor told me, Marco, the new manager is much better. Mr. Davidson was always tense and cranky. Jennifer is much more friendly. A month later, Davidson's former colleague, Peter, called. Marco, Walter Davidson gave you as a reference. Would you recommend him? This was a difficult question. Davidson's behavior was unacceptable, but I didn't want to completely destroy him either. Peter, Davidson is experienced, but his personal prejudices can affect his work, especially with tenants who have different lifestyles. I understand. Thank you. I never learned whether Davidson found a new job, but I hope this experience was a lesson for him. 6 months later, Ryan and my life in Boston had completely returned to normal. New young couples even moved into the building. One of them was also a gay couple, Tom and Alex. Jennifer had no problems welcoming them. Marco, Ryan had said one evening, wouldn't it have been better if the Davidson incident had never happened? I don't know, Ryan. Maybe it was good to see Davidson's true face. Now I'm sure everyone in our building feels safe. A year later, I made other changes to the building. I renovated the top floor and Ryan and I moved there. I rented our old apartment to Tom and Alex. Isn't this ironic? Ryan had said. You moved to a higher floor from the apartment Davidson tried to evict you from. He was right. While Davidson was trying to kick me out of the building, I had moved to a higher floor in the building. 2 years later, I accidentally saw Davidson on the street. He had changed a lot, aged, looked exhausted. When he saw me, he approached. Mr. Rodriguez. Marco. Hello, Mr. Davidson. I want to apologize for those days. Thank you, Mr. Davidson. I now understand how I hurt you. Ryan is a wonderful person. So are you. This was an unexpected change. Mr. Davidson, what changed your mind? My grandson. He came out as gay last year. Now I see the difficulties he experiences. Davidson's change seemed sincere. I hope you'll be an understanding grandfather for your grandson. I'm trying to be. He got very angry at me when he learned what you went through. Did your grandson tell you our story? Yes. He became friends with Tom and Alex. He asked them about the situation in Boston. Small world. Davidson's grandson had become friends with my tenants. Marco, Davidson said, I'm truly sorry for how I treated you and Ryan. I wish I could go back in time. Mr. Davidson, what matters is how you behave now. You're right, I'm trying to be a good example for my grandson. Davidson stopped as he was leaving. By the way, Marco, are you still in real estate? Yes, the company is growing. Great. I wish you continued success. After Davidson left, I told Ryan about the situation. He really seems to have changed, Ryan said. People can change. But Davidson's change doesn't mean I forgive what he did. Of course. But at least the chance of him doing the same thing to others has decreased. Ryan was right. Davidson's change reduced the risk of other people experiencing the same discrimination in the future. Today, Ryan and I live a happy life in Boston. Rodriguez Real Estate continues to grow. I now own 15 buildings in Boston. All my buildings have professional and inclusive property managers like Jennifer. We have zero tolerance for discrimination based on sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, etc. But the story didn't end there. The developments after Davidson's removal were even more interesting. A week after Jennifer started work, I started receiving surprising feedback from other tenants in the building. Mrs. O'Connor called me wanting to have a long conversation. "Marco, I need to tell you something. About Mr. Davidson." "What happened, Mrs. O'Connor?" "That man wasn't just treating you and Ryan badly. He had very problematic behaviors toward us too." This was new information. "What do you mean?" "When I talked to Jennifer, I learned that Davidson was doing irregularities in rent collection. He wasn't giving you some of the money he collected from us. This was a very serious accusation." "Mrs. O'Connor, are you sure?" Jennifer examined the records Davidson left behind. Some of the money collected from tenants over the past 6 months hasn't been entered into accounts. I immediately called Jennifer. "Jennifer, I heard something from Mrs. O'Connor. Are there problems with Davidson's financial matters?" "Mr. Rodriguez. Unfortunately, it appears so. When I examined Davidson's records, I noticed some inconsistencies. A total of $15,000 is missing. This was no longer just a discrimination issue. Davidson was also embezzling. Jennifer, would you prepare a detailed report? I'll need to present it to my lawyer." "Of course, Mr. Rodriguez. I'll prepare all the documents." That evening, I told Ryan about the situation. "Marco, this is very serious. Davidson turned out to be not just homophobic, but also a thief." "Yes, Ryan. And most likely the reason he tried to evict me was to hide his financial irregularities. Indeed, while Davidson was trying to kick me out of the building, his real purpose might have been to prevent me from examining the records." The next day I called my lawyer, Rebecca Stone. "Rebecca, there are new developments about Davidson." When I explained the situation, Rebecca was surprised. "Marco, this is no longer just a discrimination case. We can also file an embezzlement case. What do you recommend?" "Let's take Davidson to court for both discrimination and embezzlement. Together, they form a strong case." Rebecca's suggestion made sense. Davidson's behavior was not only immoral, but also illegal. A week later, a court summons was sent to Davidson. There were both discrimination and embezzlement charges. Davidson called me in panic. "Mr. Rodriguez, what does this court matter? I already resigned." "Mr. Davidson, your financial irregularities have been revealed. $15,000 is missing. I didn't steal anything." "The records say otherwise. There are also witness statements." "What witnesses?" "Other tenants. They also witnessed Davidson's inappropriate behavior. Indeed, Mrs. O'Connor, Mr. Peterson, and other tenants had witnessed both Davidson's discriminatory behavior and financial irregularities." Davidson desperately began to plead. "Mr. Rodriguez, please. This court situation will destroy me." "Mr. Davidson, did you think about these risks when you were trying to destroy me?" I was just doing property management." "No, you were discriminating and stealing." Davidson hung up the phone. 2 days later, Davidson's lawyer called to propose a settlement. "Mr. Rodriguez, my client is ready to pay back the money he stole. Would you drop the case in return?" "This isn't just about money. There's also the discrimination issue. He's ready to apologize for that too. $15,000 will be paid back, plus 10% interest. Additionally, Davidson will write a written apology letter and take discrimination training." Acceptable terms. A settlement was reached before the court hearing. Davidson paid back the money, wrote an apology letter, and agreed to take 40 hours of anti-discrimination training. His apology letter read, "To Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Chen, I deeply regret the behavior I showed toward you in recent months. I discriminated against you because of your sexual orientation, and this is unacceptable. I also failed to fulfill my professional responsibilities. I apologize for the pain and difficulties you experienced. This experience was a great lesson for me, and from now on I will show equal respect to all people. Respectfully, Walter Davidson." When we read the letter, Ryan and I both felt relieved. "Marco, do you think Davidson finally understands?" Ryan asked. "Maybe Ryan. At least the risk of Him doing the same thing to other people has decreased. After the settlement, our life returned to normal. Jennifer was working as an excellent property manager. The building had never been managed so well. 3 months later, the apartment on the lower floor of the building became vacant. A young couple, Emma and Lisa, applied. They were also a married lesbian couple like us. Jennifer accepted them without any hesitation. "Mr. Rodriguez, they're a very nice couple. They'll be a great addition to the building." When Emma and Lisa moved in, we welcomed them. They were very sweet and genuine people. "Marco and Ryan, it's so nice to meet you," Emma said. Jennifer told us what an inclusive community this is. "Welcome," Ryan said. "You'll feel at home here." And indeed they did. Emma and Lisa quickly became beloved members of the building. 6 months later, I saw Davidson again. This time in a different situation. We met at an LGBTQ+ rights event. Davidson was working there as a volunteer. "Marco," he said when he saw me, "how nice to see you here." I was surprised. "Mr. Davidson, what are you doing here?" "I'm volunteering. After taking anti-discrimination training, I decided to be active on this issue. This was a really unexpected change." "Also," Davidson said, "my grandson Cameron has friends here. I'm trying to better understand the difficulties they experience." Davidson's change seemed sincere. He hadn't just apologized, he was actively supporting the LGBTQ+ community. "Mr. Davidson, this change of yours is really impressive." "Thank you, Marco. You and Ryan taught me a great lesson. Without that lesson, I couldn't have reached this point." Davidson and I talked for a long time that day. He told me what he learned in anti-discrimination training, how his relationship with his grandson Cameron had developed. "Cameron was very angry with me at first," Davidson said. "But now he's proud. He sees that his grandfather can change." After the event, I told Ryan about the situation. "Incredible change," Ryan said. "Who could have known Davidson could change this much?" People can change, Ryan, when given the right motivation and opportunity. A year later, Davidson called me wanting to have a private conversation. "Marco, I want to meet with you. I have something important to say." When we met, Davidson was very excited. "Marco, I'm opening a support center for LGBTQ+ youth. It was Cameron's idea." "This is great news, Mr. Davidson. But I need your help. I need a building for the center." This was an interesting development. "What kind of help?" "I want to rent one of your buildings. Of course at market price. I just want a reliable landlord." Davidson's offer really touched me. The man who once tried to kick me out of the building was now asking to rent a building from me. "Mr. Davidson, I have an empty building downtown. It would be perfect for an LGBTQ+ youth center." "Really? That's wonderful." Davidson and I signed a lease agreement, and so together we established a support center for LGBTQ+ youth. When the center opened, we had a beautiful ceremony. Davidson gave a speech. "This center is dedicated to 2 people who taught me a great lesson. Marco Rodriguez and Ryan Chen showed me how wrong my prejudices were. I hope this center will help other people learn too." Cameron was also at the ceremony. He was a young, confident, and happy young man. "Uncle Marco," he said to me, "I know you played a big role in my grandfather's change. Thank you." Cameron calling me Uncle Marco really moved me. 2 years later, the center had achieved great success. Hundreds of young people had received help. Many families had become aware. Davidson was now an active advocate for LGBTQ+ rights. He was speaking at conferences, giving training. When we attended a conference together, Davidson told our story. "I was once a very prejudiced person. I showed terrible behavior toward Marco Rodriguez and his husband Ryan. But they taught me a lesson. And now I'm here, telling you that prejudices can change." After the conference, Davidson spoke with me privately. "Marco, I want to ask you something." "Please, Mr. Davidson. In those days, how did you manage to forgive me? I had treated you so badly." This was a deep question. "Mr. Davidson, if I hadn't forgiven you, it would have prevented your change. Sometimes, forgiveness is necessary not for the other party, but for ourselves. I understand. And thanks to this forgiveness, I was able to change." "Yes. If I had completely destroyed you, you couldn't have experienced this change." Davidson nodded with tears in his eyes. Today, Davidson and I have a friendship. He's now my tenant, and I'm his landlord. But this time, we both treat each other with respect. Emma and Lisa still live in our building. They were also very touched when they heard Davidson's transformation story. Marco, Emma had said, thanks to the mercy you showed Davidson, he was able to change. This is a very beautiful example. Rodriguez Real Estate also continues to grow. Now all our buildings have anti-discrimination policies. Every property manager takes anti-discrimination training. Last week I bought a new building. I chose this building close to Davidson's Center too. It will be affordable housing for LGBTQ+ youth. When Ryan and I visited Davidson's Center, Cameron met us. Uncle Marco, Uncle Ryan, welcome. Cameron was now volunteering at the center. He was mentoring young LGBTQ+ individuals. Cameron, how are things going? Ryan asked. Great, Uncle Ryan. My grandfather and I are doing wonderful work together. When we found Davidson in his office, he was meeting with a group of young people. Friends, Davidson said, I want to introduce you to Marco and Ryan. They are the people who contributed to the establishment of this center. The young people applauded. One of them, about a 17-year-old girl, approached me. Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Davidson told us your story. You are very brave people. Thank you. The truly brave one is Mr. Davidson. He managed to change. Davidson and I made eye contact. We were both smiling. On the way home that evening, Ryan said, Marco, the Davidson story is truly incredible. An enemy turned into a friend. Not just a friend, Ryan. He turned into an ally. I was right. Davidson was no longer just our friend, but our ally on LGBTQ+ rights. Mr. Davidson had told me, we don't want perverts like you in this building. Today, he operates a center for LGBTQ+ youth and rents buildings from me. Life sometimes takes shape in the most unexpected ways. The person Davidson called a pervert is today one of his biggest supporters. And the most beautiful part of this story is this. Thanks to Davidson's change, hundreds of young people find a safer and more supportive environment. One person's change makes a great contribution to society. Sometimes justice is not taking revenge, but giving the other party a chance to change. The opportunity I gave Davidson changed not only him, but society as well.